Alright, so I recently bought this Native Instruments Maschine MIDI controller. It's a very nice piece of hardware, but I've been having some trouble getting it to communicate with my MacBook Pro via MIDI. Now it seems to work okay when the Maschine application is running, but when I try to put it into general MIDI mode, which I'm trying to shift control. Okay, so now it's in general MIDI mode. When I send MIDI messages here, nothing is received on the MacBook Pro. But if I switch it back to regular machine mode, which the software isn't running right now, but it works just fine. So I'm going to show you kind of what kind of MIDI I have coming into the computer. First of all, I've got all of the latest drivers and editors installed, all of the ones in red here. So controller 1.5.4, controller driver 2.5.2, software update 1.8.2, and then all the machine template for Ableton Live, but that's probably irrelevant in this case. I'm just having trouble getting MIDI in. So I'm running this application called MIDI Monitor, and if I think I need there, right? So what this will do basically, it's from a developer called Snoise, and I'll try to leave a link for you, but it's going to show you any MIDI input that's coming into your computer. What we've got, I've also got the Akai APC40 plugged in, and this is just to show you kind of how it works. But when I flip down MIDI sources, now you can see in the list here we've got bus 1, plug 1, and then there's Akai APC40 is here, and then the machine controller MK2 is here. So it is showing up as a device. My understanding so far is that the machine controller has two, I'm probably not saying this properly, but there's basically two MIDI pipes that come out of the machine controller. This one here, machine controller MK2, is the one that communicates with the machine proprietary software. There's another one that is not showing up in this list, and this I think is the problem, and it's called the Maschine MK2 virtual input, I believe. So this virtual input, the only way I can get that to show up is if I reboot my computer while the machine is plugged in. If I do that and I unplug the machine after the computer's started and then replug it in, that virtual input will not come back. So I'm just going to kind of show you what's happening here, but these are the MIDI sources. Just to show you kind of how this works, anything that's checked here is going to display MIDI events down in this window here. So right now I can't show you both at the same time, but I'm going to move a fader or press buttons on my APC40, and you'll see, you get note on, note off messages. It tells you the note, the values, etc. If I move a fader, it'll even give you so that was just moving a fader halfway, but it shows you kind of all of the values as it's coming in. So it got up to 15 there, and as I keep going, so now the fader's all the way at the top. 127 probably is getting cut off, but anyway. So that's how the MIDI Monitor app works. It's a free utility for Mac OS X. I'm gonna just show you real quick now that or actually I'll just leave this running and clear. I'm gonna clear the list. Okay, so I got a blank slate here. Now when I tap on the machine controller, which I'm doing right now, I'll tap hard so you can hear it. So nothing is showing up. And I'm just guessing here that, this machine MK2, machine controller MK2 driver here, or input, really it's a proprietary thing designed to talk to the software, and it's not really going to register anything in this MIDI monitor. It also doesn't register anything in any DAW software that I've connected it to. So if it doesn't show up in this MIDI monitor, it doesn't show up anywhere else. So the only way I've been able to get it to send regular, like standard MIDI to other, you know, to like Ableton Live and assign controls and that sort of thing, has been to when I have that virtual input. So I'm going to start up Maschine software right now. Let's see. Native Instruments, Maschine, and there's Maschine. Okay. So it wasn't, MIDI monitor wasn't registering anything. I've got the screen zoomed in here. Alright. So you can't really see everything here, but there. Oh, that's really loud. Okay. So you can see I'm tapping. So no problems at all with the way the controller responds. Feels great. I love the way it feels in this, but I'm really hoping to get a combination setup going where I can use Maschine as a plugin and still control parameters in Ableton Live via the virtual MIDI input. So I'm gonna that just shows you that it's working in Maschine, but it's not working. It's not registering MIDI in the MIDI monitor. Anyway, I'm gonna restart the machine now, or the computer, reboot, and then I will show you kind of how that MIDI, that virtual MIDI, shows up, and then how it will go away once I unplug. Okay, so I'm restarting the Mac right now. So it's booting up. As you can see, the Maschine controller is plugged in. Back here, there's the USB cable. So it's plugged in. It should light up here in just a minute. Okay, so the machine is on. I've rebooted the Mac while it was plugged in. Alright, I'm going to fire up this MIDI monitor app. Actually, let me zoom my screen in again. Hold on. As you can see. Alright. So I'm going to start up MIDI monitor once again. Alright, and here we go. So I'm going to click in the sources list, and then here, MIDI sources. Put that down. Okay, so that APC40 is still plugged in. Maschine controller MK2, that's the one we had before. Now we have Maschine MK2 virtual input, which is what we need to communicate with Ableton Live or any other DAW software. We need this source to send MIDI signals in, just standard MIDI. So now I tap on the controller. Okay, so it's in standard machine mode right now. I tap on the controller. Okay, I'm tapping, and nothing is registering in the main window, which is normal. That's what was happening before, but it was still working with the Maschine software. Now I'm going to switch it into MIDI mode. Okay, so now I've got my different banks, and we have, I'm going to clear the list again just so you can see, but yeah, from Maschine MK2 virtual input, we've got MIDI coming in. If I clear it, I'll just tap a pad here. It says note on, note off, aftertouch, I'm holding it down, varying the pressure. So it's receiving MIDI now. So that's great. So I thought, alright, good news, it's fixed. I'm going to quit that. That's what I thought. And I fire up Ableton Live. I'm running Live 9. I'm going to put just any drum rack in here. Alright, so drop that on a MIDI track. Alright, so, and I've still got Maschine in general MIDI mode. Let's see what, so yeah, I'm tapping on the Maschine. Alright, so cool, that works. Actually, I should check out my live preferences here real quick, just so you can see what I've got turned on. There we go. Alright, the MIDI sync tab, we have APC40, the track and remote are on for the input. We've got, now see in the list here as Maschine MK2 virtual input. The track is on, the remote is off, Maschine controller MK2, both are on. I can turn this one on too. I don't think that's going to make any difference in the results though. So yeah, basically it works. So this is working now how I would want it to. I could even load Maschine into, you know, the second MIDI track here, switch into Maschine mode and play it, play the Maschine as an audio plugin, as a VST. I'm not going to bother with that here. You get the idea. Everything's working the way it ought to be. Here is where it gets interesting. Okay, I'm going to quit live. I'm going to just quit anything MIDI related that's open. Alright. Let's also quit MIDI monitor. I'm going to quit that. Okay. I'm going to go over to the Maschine and I'm going to unplug it because I don't want my Maschine controller plugged in all the time. So I don't want power going to it 24/7. It just doesn't make sense. So now let's say I'm doing some design work or something, and you know, I finish work for the day and I decide, alright, I want to do some beat making. So actually I'll show you MIDI monitor before I plug it in here just so you can see what's going on. Alright, sources, MIDI sources. So APC40 is still plugged in. There's nothing there about Maschine anymore. We've totally unplugged it. Maschine is not connected, obviously. Okay. Now I'm just going to leave MIDI monitor going. It should. Actually, I don't know if it'll live update. All right, I'm gonna plug this back in. Okay, Maschine is back on. It's in MIDI mode right now. And it should load up some numbers on the screen in just a second. Okay, there. So there's the CC values that show up. It's just on template 1. It's a general MIDI template. And then we go back to sources, MIDI sources. APC40 is still there. Everything's the same. Okay, Maschine controller MK2 is there, but the virtual MIDI input is not there. The only way, I've tried this 1,000 times almost, the only way for me to get that virtual MIDI input back is to reboot the Mac completely and with the Maschine plugged in. So yeah, that's basically it. I just wanted to record this to hopefully show tech support. I'm going to give them a call on Monday, and hopefully they'll be able to take a look at this and see exactly what's happening. I've uninstalled the driver, reinstalled, So I'm really hoping these guys can help me out on Monday. I will report back.